Facebook is not called Facebook anymore. Welcome back to a couple of takes. It's been a few months. We've not done the show just for fun to not do it.
Yeah, we got out of the habit,
Yeah, it's something you have to sit down and do. But
but we're back.
we're back. In the last week or 2 weeks, Facebook, the multinational corporation that controls much of the internet, in the last few weeks decided they were going to change their name, and their new name is going to be Meta.
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you think, first of all, I guess? So what do you think about the name change?
So I think it makes sense if they're wanting to be bigger than Facebook. And also, Facebook has gotten some not great press recently, and like people's opinions of it, honestly, over the last couple of years, I feel like have gone down. Separating themselves from that brand is probably smart. If they do want to be bigger than just Facebook, I think it makes sense to brand everything as this parent company of Meta. I think it makes sense from like a business strategy standpoint. I get why they're doing it.
The story we have in front of us here has to do with Facebook a few days ago announced that they were going to get rid of their facial recognition capabilities, their facial recognition database. And then it turned out that it was some kind of like rhetorical bait and switch where it was really they were talking about Facebook, the application, and not the company,
Not Meta.
and not Meta, because Meta is going to be using facial recognition technology for things. At least that's my understanding at the moment. We're going to dig into this BuzzFeed article. Maybe this Meta change allows the company previously known as Facebook to sunset their flagship product and just get rid of it altogether. Because Facebook should go the way of Google Plus. It's like,
I mean, maybe at some point it
yeah,
will, but I think right now there are still too many users. Not too many, but there are still a lot of users on it, and
mm,
a lot of people posting ads on there. Like they're getting a lot of money from ads on there.
yeah, that's true.
So I don't see it going away anytime soon. Because like on Google Plus, I don't think you could have ads at all. So like it wasn't making money for them. Nobody was using it. So like that made sense for them to shut it down. But I think we're stuck with Facebook for at least a little while longer.
Yeah. Definitely. We didn't cover this when it happened, but there was this whole saga with a Facebook a senior executive whistleblower that came out.
Yeah.
And then like maybe a day or two after that, the whole site network was down. Facebook like somehow deleted the DNS for all of their domains. The domains just didn't exist anymore. And it seemed like they had to like go break into a physical like building to turn those back on somehow. All very interesting. I wonder what if any of it has to do with, or what if any of this like name change has to do with those things, because maybe this was a moment where it's like we need a big distraction. Otherwise, Zuckerberg sees himself in the chair in front of Congress again, explaining like where the billions of dollars of ad revenue went from that one day of outages and stuff
Sure.
like that. Um,
Honestly, it was nice that day, however many hours that was, that like you just couldn't get on social media and no one could.
yeah,
That was nice.
yeah, it almost makes you wish for if that actually happened. If it just was like one day just turned off. I think yeah, people can figure out a new way to
In their time?
yell at people online. Yeah, or spend their time. I don't know what people are doing Facebook. All right, so let's get into this. Let's get it after the long preamble. Let's get into this why Facebook shutting down its old facial recognition system doesn't matter. It's a BuzzFeed article by Emily Baker White. So I'll just be going through. So it looks like they were gonna shut down the face recognition system on Facebook, which is just that's the thing that allows them to automatically tag
Mhm.
your images with like your friends and be like,
Yeah.
okay, this is who we think is in your picture.
Yep.
We'll put a little box around them. All you had to do was click the box and then say, yeah, that's that person. But obviously problematic, right? Because it's just collecting somewhat visual representation and using it to sell ads in the larger view. I read a tweet thread originally that was like, I can't believe that I'm writing this. Facebook's shutting down its
Mhm.
facial recognition technology. Okay, it looks based on a based on some answers to detailed lists of questions, it suggests the face identification technology isn't going anywhere. So it is going to stay.
But with
Um,
Meta, it seems, right?
yeah, exactly. So right here, this is funny because it is like what we just talked about, all the bad press, the high profile whistleblower, the whole ad thing that happened. But yeah, so virtual reality, it seems they're going to have to lean on this whole facial technology thing, just facial recognition to say, oh, we need this for our VR functionality. Maybe we have to make sure that people's faces are the thing that allow their device to get unlocked or something. Because, yeah, it says right here, one of the big new features of Meta's new Cambria headset is around eye tracking and face tracking.
Hmm.
So they're going to be basically saying, we need this.
Yeah. Well, and I watched like a little video from Mark Zuckerberg, and they showed an avatar whose face was moving as the person in VR, like as their face was moving.
Mhm.
And I was actually pretty good. That's a whole other topic, but I think that it's a good thing to have. But
Yeah, for
yeah,
VR,
for
like,
VR in that instance.
I think you could probably, so the avatar thing and like the facial recognition part, I feel like you don't need to know specifically that person is that
I
person.
don't think you do either.
So I feel like that is sure they're going to be able to say this, and less technical people who would be in charge of determining whether this is needed or not will just take their word for it and be like, "Oh yeah, that's fine.
Hmm. Hmm.
We'll keep that." Because they need it for this avatar thing. When really you can just use probably anyone's face and map it to any avatar
Hmm.
and get the
Right?
same
Yeah.
output. And then the next thing it says is that they may have shut down the facial recognition system on Facebook, but they're going to keep the code. So they keep the algorithm that powered the system. So that just means there's a way for them to use it in the future. They
Well,
could just
yeah,
turn it
this
back on.
quote here. Exactly. Yeah. There's no reason the company couldn't simply turn it on again later.
Yeah. So this is David Brody, Lawyers Committee for Civil Rights Under Law, says that they're also leaving themselves open to collect more data. It's not like they're reducing their amount of data that they have about you. They're just like, oh, maybe facial recognition would be like an easy thing to turn off and get a PR win. And at
Mm.
the same time, let's set up systems for other biological data. So right here it says current privacy policies for VR devices leave plenty of room for a collection of personal biological data that reaches beyond a user's face. Policy director of EFF says that the language is broad enough to encompass a wide range of potential data streams, which, even if not being collected today, could start being collected tomorrow without necessarily notifying users, securing additional consent, or amending the policy. And it doesn't matter, I think, when you change the privacy policy of something somebody's already using, people are going to accept those for the most part. They're not going to read.
Oh yeah.
The longer it is, the less somebody's going to read it. So
Totally.
as long as if you want to change your privacy policy, you should do all your changes like at once.
I mean, honestly, I don't
So
think
it's
people
100
read
pages.
privacy policies anyway, even if it's a new thing they're signing up for. But
That's true. I don't think anyone really knows. If you're the one person who knows what's in the privacy policy for something you signed up, we want to hear from you. Um, okay, so some of that type of data that we're looking for, or that Facebook's going to be looking for, VR headsets can be taught to recognize a user's voice, their veins,
their veins?
the shading of their iris, or to capture metrics like heart rate, breath rate, and what causes their pupils to dilate.
Ooh, I don't know about
So
that
we're
one.
getting into being able to micro
Uh-huh.
uh performance. If let's say you're running a VR ad, you get back like biometric data. This is when in your ad the most people's pupils dilated.
Yeah, yeah. That's interesting.
Like it's creepy though, right?
That's
So like
totally creepy.
Meta has filed patents concerning many of these data collection types, including one that would use things like your face, voice, or even your DNA. What? To lock and unlock your devices. Can we not?
How is that even possible? Your DNA to unlock a device.
I have no idea. I guess there's a patent for it. Another would use a user's weight, force, pressure, heart rate, pressure rate, or EEG data to create a VR avatar. So that's fingerprinting you. Ugh. I don't even know what to say about this. This reminds me of like the camera that was on your Xbox or whatever that could like auto watch you and decide you're that user. And it's also like seeing through your clothes and being like,
I don't think I knew about that.
but they got rid of that. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so they're gonna get a lot of it's interesting because it's not just data as far as what you're searching for on the internet or whatever, but like bio data. That
Mhm.
seems even more
I feel like this is starting to feel like Facebook just decided its facial recognition stuff was not as useful as it thought it
yeah.
was.
Yeah.
And they were like, oh, it's not that useful. We have all
Mhm.
this other stuff that's going to be way more useful.
Mhm. Yeah, it's funny because all these articles, there's so many of them that are just like, "Oh, Facebook's shutting down its facial recognition software," but it's not talking about like, here's all of the other stuff that they are going to do instead. Which
Yeah.
like this article is saying that.
Yeah. This is totally interesting. So it also seems like they're going to collect information about your VR play area. So, for example, your home. So you better not have any dissident literature laying around while you're
Oh
playing
geez.
VR because that
Right?
information is going to be collected by Meta and will be available to the government at some point, whether it's immediately, maybe, or just like later on through lawsuits, it will be available. Yeah, so it says here like information about your environment, physical movements, dimensions could describe data points far beyond estimated hand size and game boundary, include involuntary reaction metrics like a flinch or uniquely identifying movements like a smile. So yeah, so they'll have a beat on who you are and how you move and how you act and all of your
Mhm.
little
Mhm.
micro behaviors,
Yeah.
and they'll be able to use that against you in the court of law if it comes to that, or just use it against you in terms of selling you whatever they want, or like micro targeting you to whatever company.
Exactly.
So since this article was published, it looks like like Meta reached out to talk to BuzzFeed just to clarify that they're not currently collecting this data, nor does it currently use facial recognition. So
Cool. That makes me feel
it's just not currently happening. So no worries. We'll have to keep watching to see what happens here. Uh,
yeah. Yeah. I'm sure in the next year there's gonna be a lot of new things happening with all of this with Meta and what they're going to do with VR and how that impacts us and like our privacy. So I guess we'll see.
yeah,
And maybe we get a non Oculus VR headset at some point.
true. Um, yeah, I'm still excited about VR. I'm still excited about
Yeah, me
like
too.
the strides it seems like Oculus is making in VR, and the Facebook acquisition didn't destroy Oculus the way a lot of people thought it would. But at the same time, I would like to be a lot more optimistic about this, just knowing how large companies work. The worst thing you could be at this point is a large company if you want to be pushing forward open access and all the things that people want to need in a safe VR product. You really don't want some kind of like predatory multinational corporation like that sells your data to be in charge of it. Doesn't mean I'm not going to use it. Of course, I'm going to use it
No.
because I'm an idiot.